Okay, let's unpack this. I want you to imagine that you're playing a high-stakes game.
Right.
And your career, your money, maybe even your actual freedom is on the line.
The biggest stakes possible.
Exactly. But here's the catch. The rules of this game, they secretly change depending on, like, whether the referee had a good breakfast this morning.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe whether their favorite sports team won their game yesterday.
Right.
Or honestly, just what the temperature is outside.
That sounds completely rigged.
Right. I mean, you would call it rigged. You would never agree to play that game.
Of course not.
But the wild thing is, you are already playing it. We all are.
We really are.
And according to the researchers behind today's source material, which is excerpts from the book Noise, a flaw in human judgment. This rigged game is this invisible force. It's costing billions of dollars, and it's silently altering millions of lives.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, so our mission for this deep dive today is to uncover this hidden force. We need to understand how it corrupts decisions everywhere, from, courtrooms to corporate boardrooms. And most importantly, we want to give you the tools to spot it and actually stop it in your own life.
It's such a crucial topic because, when we talk about flawed human judgment, the conversation almost always defaults to bias.
Oh, totally. Bias is like the big buzzword.
Right. Bias is the villain everyone knows. But the authors here, Daniel Kahneman, Olivier Sibony, and Cass Sunstein, they point out that bias actually has a silent twin.
A silent twin.
Yes, a flaw that is equally destructive but entirely ignored. It's just quietly undermining the systems we trust the most. And that flaw is noise.
Noise. Okay, so the authors use this brilliant visual analogy to separate bias from noise.
They do, and it really clarifies things.
So picture a shooting range. You've got 4 teams shooting at targets. A biased team, well, their shots are tightly clustered together, but they're entirely off-center.
Right. They are predictably systematically wrong in one specific direction.
Exactly. But a noisy team, on the other hand, their shots are just scattered everywhere across the target.
Just completely random.
Yeah. There's no cluster, there's no pattern. It's just this wide, unpredictable variability. And then, I guess, the 4th team is both biased and noisy.
Yeah, which is the worst case scenario.
No.
But what's fascinating here is how you actually identify the problem.
Okay.
Imagine standing behind the targets. You're looking only at the back of the paper. You do not know where the bullseye is.
So you don't even know what the right answer is supposed to be.
Exactly. From the back of the target, you can't tell if a tightly clustered group of shots is perfectly accurate or if it's heavily biased.
Oh, I see. Because they're all grouped together.
Right. But you can instantly see if a target is scattered. You can identify noise without ever knowing the true answer.
That is such a good point. It's kind of like stepping on a bathroom scale.
Okay, yeah.
Like a scale that always adds exactly 5 pounds to your weight that's biased. It's reliably wrong.
Right, you can calculate for that.
Yeah, but a scale that swings wildly between like 120, 150, and 180 pounds every single time you step on it, that is noisy.
And completely useless.
Totally.
Yeah.
But wait, let me push back on this for a second. Isn't some variation just, having different tastes?
How do you mean?
Like if I read 10 movie reviews, I fully expect 10 different opinions. I mean, I actually want that variation. Right?
Oh, absolutely. And that distinction is critical to understanding the book's premise. The authors specifically separate wanted diversity from system noise.
Okay, what's the difference?
Well, wanted diversity is exactly what you said. It's a film critique.
Yeah.
Or a wine tasting. Or a competitive market where companies trying to solve a problem from totally different angles.
So variation is actually a feature there, not a bug.
Exactly. But system noise is unwanted variability, specifically within an organization that is expected to speak with a single, consistent voice.
Oh, right. Like a hospital.
Yes. When you go to a hospital, or if you stand trial, you expect a consistent standard.
Yeah, I definitely want the hospital to accurately diagnose my disease. I don't want like a jazz interpretation of my medical symptoms.
Precisely. System noise occurs when professionals who are expected to agree end up at wildly different points around the target.
And we find these scattered shots everywhere that accuracy matters, don't we?
Everywhere. It's terrifying.
The authors map out this kind of iceberg of noisy systems operating right below the surface of society.
Yeah, the software developer example is wild.
Oh yeah, software developers estimating the exact same task differed in their timelines by 71% on average.
71%. Just imagine the operational headache for a tech company trying to plan a launch.
Right, but then you look at something like the asylum system in the United States, and it literally becomes a matter of life and death.
This part of the text is sobering.
It really is. Cases are randomly assigned to different judges, right?
Yeah.
And the data showed one judge admitting just 5% of applicants.
While another judge, looking at the exact same types of cases, admitted 88%.
Which is why the researchers literally call it refugee roulette.
The stakes are monumental. And yet this variability persists even in fields that we assume are grounded in objective, hard science.
Yeah, and here's where it gets really interesting for me. I was looking at the section on fingerprint analysis.
Oh, the forensics data.
Yeah, because we are culturally conditioned by television to view a fingerprint match as, like, infallible proof.
The whole CSI effect.
Exactly. We assume a computer beeps, it flashes green, and it spits out a 100% match. But forensics fundamentally relies on human judgment.
It does. It's a person looking at a smudged partial print from a crime scene and comparing it to a clean file print.
Right. And not only do different forensic experts disagree with each other on the exact same prints, which is bad enough,
Right.
but the same expert will give a completely different answer when looking at the same print on a different day.
Yes. The authors term this occasion noise.
Occasion noise.
Basically, the mind is a measuring instrument, and that instrument fluctuates constantly.
Just based on the occasion.
Exactly. The person evaluating the fingerprint today might have a slight headache, or they might be in a rushed mood.
Or they just had a bad cup of coffee.
Right. Or they might be unconsciously influenced by the sequence of complex cases they reviewed just an hour prior.
Which means the expert isn't just disagreeing with a colleague. They are actively disagreeing with themselves.
Yes, based on nothing but Tuesday's mood versus Thursday's mood.
That is wild.
And when you scale that occasion noise up to the criminal justice system as a whole, the results are just devastating.
Yeah, this judgment lottery takes on a terrifying weight when fundamental human freedom is on the line.
Absolutely.
There was this federal judge named Marvin Frankel who recognized this systemic flaw way back in 1973.
He really sounded the alarm.
He launched this massive crusade against what he called arbitrary cruelties.
And idiosyncratic use cases.
Right, because he noticed that a crime carrying a maximum 25-year sentence allowed a judge to arbitrarily choose anything from 0 to 25 years.
Based entirely on personal whim.
Exactly. The examples in the text are shocking. One man with no criminal record cashed a counterfeit check for $58.40 and received 15 years in prison.
15 years.
Yeah. And then another man, also with no record, cashed a counterfeit check for $35.20 and received just 30 days.
It's completely scattered.
Embezzlers with identical profiles received anywhere from 117 days to 20 years.
And what's crucial to understand is that the underlying mechanisms causing this disparity are largely invisible to the judges themselves.
They don't even know they're doing it.
Right. Judging requires immense mental energy. Researchers found that judicial decisions are heavily influenced by cognitive fatigue and ego depletion.
Which makes sense, right?
Right. As a judge moves through their daily docket, their cognitive resources drain. And the brain takes heuristic shortcuts when it's fatigued.
Which perfectly explains the hangry justice phenomenon detailed in the research.
Yes, the food break data.
Judges are demonstrably harsher right before a food break. The brain is tired, the blood sugar is low, and the mind just defaults to the safest, easiest path.
Which, in the criminal justice system, often means defaulting to the status quo, or just handing down a harsher penalty.
We see these heuristic shortcuts with other extraneous factors as well, right?
Oh, completely. Juvenile court judges issue significantly harsher decisions on Mondays following a weekend where the local football team lost.
Still can't get over that detail.
And immigration judges are less likely to grant asylum on hotter days.
Just because it's hot outside?
Yes. Yet an analysis of 6 million judicial decisions in France revealed defendants receive more leniency if their hearing happens to fall on their birthday.
Okay, so what does this all mean for due process? If your sentence depends on the weather, or if the quarterback threw an interception, is it even a legal system at that point, or just a high-stakes mood ring?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, justice fundamentally requires consistency.
Right.
When system noise dictates outcomes to this degree, it's not just a minor error, it represents a core breakdown of fairness.
It's a systemic vulnerability.
Exactly. Frankel argued objectively that a government of laws cannot allow the fate of a human being to depend on the happenstance of which judge was assigned to the docket. or what mood they were in that morning.
And Congress actually listened to Frankel's warnings, didn't they?
They did. They passed the Sentencing Reform Act of 1984.
Right, which attempted to constrain this unfettered discretion by introducing mandatory guidelines.
They essentially tried to cure the noise.
Yeah, judges had to consult this standardized grid intersecting the severity of the offense with the defendant's criminal history. And this grid provided a narrow, mandated range of months for the sentence.
And the data proves that it worked.
It really did. Inter-judge disparity, which is the system noise, dropped from a 17% variance down to 11%.
It was a massive statistical success. But despite that success, the judges absolutely rebelled against the system.
They hated it.
They felt the guidelines stripped the courtroom of equity. They felt it reduced their roles to unacceptably mechanical administrators just reading off a spreadsheet.
I mean, let me play devil's advocate here. I kind of agree with the angry judges.
You do?
Yeah. If I'm the one on trial, I desperately want a human being to consider my unique context. I want empathy, not a mathematical formula.
It's a completely natural reaction. But the data reveals a brutal paradox here.
What the paradox?
The moment you introduce the capacity for individualized empathy, you simultaneously introduce the capacity for individualized bias and extreme noise.
Whoa, right, because the door is open for everything.
You hit on the exact mechanism. In 2005, the Supreme Court struck down the mandatory nature of those guidelines. They made them merely advisory.
So the desire for the human touch prevailed.
It did. And the immediate result was that interjudge disparities skyrocketed back up.
Wow.
Noise doubled, and bias surged right alongside it. The disparity between sentences for African American defendants and white defendants convicted of the exact same crimes increased significantly.
So the open-ended discretion that allows a judge to be merciful to one defendant, it actively creates rampant systemic inequality for everyone else.
Exactly. We crave the human element without realizing the human element is the very thing destabilizing the scale.
That is deeply unsettling. But this destabilization, it isn't just confined to courtrooms and public policy, is it?
Not at all. The private sector is bleeding hundreds of millions of dollars to this exact phenomenon, and mostly in complete silence.
Yeah, let's talk about the private sector. The book details this massive noise audit conducted at a prominent insurance company.
This case study is fascinating.
They had executives look at two specific roles: underwriters, who assess risk to set premium prices, and claims adjusters, who estimate the value of claims after an accident.
And both of these roles demand highly complex, trained professional judgment.
Right. So the executives initiated this audit by having different underwriters and adjusters independently evaluate standardized representative case files.
So everyone's looking at the exact same information.
Exactly. And before looking at the results, the leadership estimated they'd see maybe a 10% difference between professionals evaluating the same file.
Because 10% is widely considered a tolerable margin of error for human judgment in business.
Sure. But the actual results was a 55% difference for underwriters.
55%.
If one underwriter quoted a premium of $9,500, a randomly selected colleague looking at the exact same file quoted $16,700.
And for claims adjusters, the variance was 43%.
That isn't just a rounding error.
No, it's a catastrophic financial leak. And it's caused entirely by a judgment lottery within their own walls.
Honestly, what is more alarming to me than the financial loss is the psychological blindness of the leadership.
They were totally unaware.
The executives had absolutely no idea this level of noise existed. They just assumed their professionals were operating with a unified methodology.
Right.
I picture it like a symphony orchestra where every musician is listening to a different song in their earpiece.
I love that analogy.
Like the cellist is playing classical, the trumpeter is playing jazz, the percussionist is playing heavy metal. But they're all wearing tuxedos, sitting on the same stage, smiling and nodding at each other. They are entirely convinced they are playing a cohesive symphony together.
It's a perfect image.
So how do leaders not notice a 55% variance, leaking hundreds of millions of dollars? How do highly trained professionals deceive themselves like that?
The authors attribute this to something called naive realism.
Naive realism.
It is the unquestioned cognitive assumption that the world simply is exactly as we perceive it. And therefore, any other reasonable, competent person must perceive it the exact same way.
So they just assume everyone agrees with them.
Right. Because these professionals share a corporate vocabulary, they sit in the same building, they use the same software.
Right.
And this shared environment creates an impenetrable illusion of agreement.
And Postmortems on bad decisions actually reinforce this illusion, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Because when a judgment is completely absurd and it visibly costs the company money, the team dissects it. And everyone easily agrees it was a terrible call.
Which creates consensus.
Yes, that consensus makes them feel aligned. But they completely ignore the massive 55% variations happening every single day within the boundaries of what they consider normal professional disagreement.
Exactly. Companies design processes to maintain harmony rather than uncover noise.
This is so true.
Now, organizations do rely on data to eventually catch these leaks. Recurrent decisions, like pricing insurance or sentencing criminals, they generate large data sets that allow us to measure the noise.
Right, because it happens over and over.
But the most critical decisions a leader makes often lack a data set. They're singular decisions.
Because they only happen once.
Precisely.
Right, a singular decision is totally unique, and it lacks a prepackaged response. The book highlights President Obama's response to the Ebola crisis in West Africa back in 2014.
A great example of a singular decision.
Yeah. Amid intense political pressure to shut down borders and restrict travel, Obama made this unprecedented choice to send 3,000 health workers and military personnel directly into the hot zone to tackle the virus at its source.
That was a decision with global, historical stakes.
But singular decisions scale down to our own lives, too.
Oh, sure.
Choosing to launch an untested product line at your company, or deciding to buy a specific house, or choosing to marry someone.
You only do those things once, mostly.
Right. And because history only runs once, you cannot run a noise audit. You cannot ask 50 different versions of yourself to propose to your partner and then measure the variance.
Okay, but let me push back again. If singular decisions are a sample size of one, aren't we just agonizing over alternate realities, like in some sci-fi movie?
What do you mean?
Like, is it actually practical to worry about noise we can't even measure, we just assume is pure intuition, right?
This raises an important question. Because just because we can't measure it doesn't mean it isn't affecting the outcome.
Counterfactual thinking proves that noise is there. The system generating that singular decision, whether it is the group of advisors in the Oval Office or just your own individual brain, it is the exact same measuring instrument making those recurrent decisions.
I see.
The instrument is inherently unsteady, regardless of whether it is measuring once or 1,000 times.
Right. If the key players in the Oval Office had different professional backgrounds, or if they were battling the cognitive fatigue we saw in those judges, the final global health decision would have shifted.
Exactly. Which brings us to the ultimate solution the authors propose: decision hygiene.
Decision hygiene. This is the critical tool to spot and stop this invisible force.
It really is.
Just as you wash your hands to prevent an invisible virus from spreading, you must practice decision hygiene to protect against invisible noise.
Because you cannot completely eliminate the flaws of human judgment, but you can manage them.
Right. So decision hygiene requires you to break down a complex judgment into independent, quantifiable assessments before you make a gut call.
Exactly. Let's say you are hiring an executive. You do not just sit in a room and ask, do we like her?
Because that invites so much noise.
Yes. Instead, you break the role down into specific traits: leadership, technical skill, communication. You score each trait independently using a standardized rubric before discussing the overall impression.
You delay your intuition.
That is the key. Delaying intuition is the foundation of decision hygiene.
Because it forces the brain out of those heuristic shortcuts and those cognitive fatigue traps.
Right. By structuring the evaluation process, you prevent the halo effect of one good trait from blinding you to the red flags of another.
You literally force the unsteady instrument to calibrate itself at every step.
Exactly. We navigate noisy systems every single day, but we are also the architects of those systems in our own careers and personal lives.
We are. Every judgment is susceptible to occasion noise and extraneous factors.
Absolutely, every single one.
We started today by uncovering the shocking lottery of refugee roulette and criminal sentencing, where the fundamental right to due process is undermined by, of all things, cognitive fatigue and the temperature outside.
It's sobering.
Very. We examined the silent $100 million leaks in corporate boardrooms caused by naive realism and this illusion of agreement.
The symphony playing different songs.
Exactly. And we explored how to protect our own singular once-in-a-lifetime choices by implementing strict decision hygiene and delaying our intuition.
So, as we wrap up, I want you to think about a recent high-stakes decision you made in your own career.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a major project pivot or a critical hire or a really tough negotiation. Did you break it down into independent assessments, or did you rely on the illusion of your own consistency? Because if experts are unknowingly swayed by blood sugar and the weather, when you look back at the most confident gut decision of your life, how much of it was actually your brilliant insight and how much of it was just noise?
Wow. That is a question definitely worth asking before you make your next big move. Make sure you check what the referee had for breakfast. That is our deep dive for today. See you next time.